Before the feed, before the likes, before almost everything we know about social media today, there was an empire, a digital kingdom that an entire generation called home. And this is the story of how it vanished.
Just let that sink in for a second. They weren't just a player, they were the game. The absolute center of the social universe. Your music, your friends, your entire online life. It all lived right here.
You know, this wasn't some slow, graceful decline. No, this was a cliff, a sudden, seismic shock. One day, they were the world. And the next, a ghost town, a digital Pompeii.
This is the story of how the planet's first social media giant won the hearts of millions, and then, in a blink of an eye, lost everything.
So to really get MySpace, you got to remember what the internet was back in the early 2000s. It was the Wild West. No rules, no map. Just this raw, chaotic frontier. And that's where our story begins.
And out of that chaos, MySpace didn't just grow, it exploded. Look at these numbers. It goes from an idea in 2003 to, just 3 years later, being bigger than Google, bigger than Yahoo. For a hot minute, it was the most visited website on Earth. The speed was just unreal.
And see, it was so much more than a website, wasn't it? It was your digital skin. It was your profile song, that perfect background, and, oh yeah, the drama of the top 8. Who's in, who's out. It was where bands got discovered in their garages. It was raw, unfiltered, messy self-expression.
And this right here, this is the heart of it. It felt like your own little corner of the internet, cobbled together with glittery GIFs and terrible code, and we absolutely loved it for that. But freedom, well, freedom always comes with a price tag.
The very moment MySpace was crowned king was the exact same moment the seeds of its downfall were planted. Because when you build an empire that big, everyone, and I mean everyone, wants a piece.
And here's the number that changed everything, $580 million. In 2005, Rupert Murdoch's News Corp bought the future. And everyone thought, wow, they've made it. But what they'd really done was sign a death warrant.
And there it is, the fatal turn. The new bosses, they didn't see a community, they saw a spreadsheet. They saw a giant ad delivery machine. And the entire soul of the platform started to change.
And while all this was happening, a rival was quietly rising. Look at this contrast. On one side, you've got MySpace, just getting buried in ads, clutter, and noise. And on the other, there's Facebook. Clean, simple. It wasn't chasing money, it was building connections.
The site itself just became a chore to use. It was slow, it was buggy, it was messy. That creative freedom that pulled everyone in, it was now drowning under a sea of corporate greed.
Here's a hard truth. When you forget about your users will forget about you. The Great Migration was about to begin, and it happened faster than anyone thought possible.
This chart says it all, doesn't it? Look at that crossover in 2008. One line is in absolute freefall, and the other is a rocket ship to the moon. The king was dead, a new one had been crowned.
And behind the curtain, total chaos. Executives came and went. Nobody had a clear vision. Innovation just stopped. The code itself was a tangled nightmare that no one could fix. They weren't just losing, they were completely paralyzed.
And then came the final insult. In 2011, News Corp finally sold off the smoking wreckage of the empire. Look at that number, from over $500 million down to $35 million. It was one of the most stunning flameouts in tech history.
And for us, the users, it was just weird. One day you wake up and realize nobody's home anymore. The digital house you grew up in, the place with all your memories and friendships, was empty. The lights were out.
So what's the takeaway from all this? The story of MySpace isn't just about a smart arrival or bad code. It's about something much more fundamental. It's about losing your soul.
Here's the autopsy report. They tried to be a music platform, a video site, a social network, and ended up being great at none of it. They took their users for granted, they sold out their original vision for a quick buck. And in a world that was moving at lightning speed, they just stood still.
And if you take away only one thing from this story, let it be this: focus. All the growth in the world means nothing if you destroy the experience people came for. Because loyalty online isn't a given, it's earned, and it can disappear in an instant.
You know, in the end, MySpace is so much more than a failed company. For millions of us, it's a time capsule, a snapshot of the early, awkward, wonderfully chaotic dawn of the social internet before it all got so polished and professional.
It becomes a ghost, a cautionary tale whispered among startups. MySpace's spectacular collapse leaves us with one timeless question we have to ask ourselves. About any project, any business, any dream, are we building something that can last, or are we just building the next beautiful ruin?